Saint Gobnait and Saint Anna Julia Haywood Cooper show us examples of passionate women who pursued their dreams and followed Jesus. Saint Gobnait was born in County Clare, Ireland, in the 5th or 6th century. In her youth, she was forced to flee to the Aran Islands where she studied monastic life. While there, she was visited by an angel that told her she should travel Ireland until she found a place where she found 9 white deer grazing. She found these 9 deer at Balverney, County Cork, and with the help of Saint Aben, Gobnait founded a monastery and became abbess. Gobnait was passionate about healing people, and she dedicated her life to caring for the sick, helping to save the people of Balverney from the plague. There are legends that Gobnait performed miracles of healing through her prayers. Gobnait was also known for beekeeping. She loved caring for them, and may have used honey as a healing aid. There is another legend that Gobnait once drove away a bandit by sending a swarm of bees after him. Gobnait is the patron saint of bees and beekeeping, and her feast day is nationally recognized in Ireland. Saint Anna Julia Haywood Cooper was born about 1859 in North Carolina to an enslaved woman and a white man. She attended St. Augustine Normal College and Collegiate Institute, founded by the Episcopal Church to educate African American teachers and clergy. There she became an Episcopalian and married George Cooper, who was the second African American ordained to the Episcopal priesthood in North Carolina. Anna received degrees from Oberlin College and was made principal of the African American High School in Washington, D.C. Anna was passionate about equal education for African Americans and was eventually removed from her post because she refused to lower her educational standards. She advocated for African American women and assisted in organizing the Colored Women's League and the first colored settlement house in Washington, D.C. At the age of 65, Cooper became the 4th African American woman to complete a doctorate degree. She served as president of Frelinghuysen University for 12 years and lived to be 104. What stands out to you in these stories? What do you think Saint Gobnait and Saint Anna Julia Haywood Cooper teach us about being Christian? How can you follow their example in your own life?
Welcome to week 4, group 2 of Heroes of the Faith. This is the last week that we're going to be talking about those really amazing women we've been covering for about the last month. So you're going to need your bag. This is the last set of ladies we're going to add. With Lydia and Hildegard and Mary Magdalene and Lillian and Maria and Phoebe, we're going to be adding our last 2 ladies, which are Gobnait and Anna Julia Haywood Cooper. It's a long name. We're going to go ahead and start with Gobnait, and actually the picture we have for her is really cool. It shows her in stained glass, surrounded by her bees. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some quick notes so we remember her. I would love to write in yellow for the bees, but you can't see yellow. So for today, I'm going to do it in green because she comes from Ireland. G-O-B-N-A-I-T. Gobnait. I'm going to put her right here in the middle to add to my collage. So the very first thing I'm going to do for her, obviously, is I'm going to make a shamrock. Hopefully your shamrock looks better than mine. To remember that she's from Ireland. The next thing I also want to do is I'm going to add a bee because, as we learned in our story, she's the patron saint of beekeepers, and she used bees to her advantage. The other thing I'm going to add along with the bee is I'm going to add a little honey wand. That is what they traditionally use to drip honey onto things, and a little honey pot. One of the other things that Gobnait really believed is in the healing power of natural medicine, and honey was something that she used regularly. She used it during the plague. She used it to help sick people in the villages that she worked with. I'm gonna add forest. In one of Gobnait's dreams, she saw white deer in a ring of trees. And that is where she went on to make sure that a monastery was founded and that a church was built. So I've got my forest, and I'm also gonna make myself a deer, a stag. She saw white deer in a forest, and that is where she went on to have a church built in a vision. The very last thing that I am gonna be adding about her is I'm going to add a well. There is still a well in Ireland that pilgrims go to visit, and it's known as Gobnait's Well. It's not a place where you can gather water any longer, but it is a place that pilgrims go to visit. They can make wishes, they can say prayers, and it's a place known as Gobnait's Well, and it's a place to connect to her, and it's a place to connect to her vision of healing and nature in Ireland. So here's my Gobnait storyline. And then I'm gonna flip to the back, and I'm gonna take that picture we saw with Gobnait. I'm gonna trim mine down a little bit. You probably don't have to trim yours, but I'm gonna trim mine down just a touch, leaving in those bees. And actually, if you look very carefully, right behind her head, you can see part of a tree for her forest. And I'm going to add her to the back with all of my other female heroes. Okay. Then I'm going to switch colors, and I'm going to add some details about Anna. Anna had a pretty cool story as well. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write her name. We'll use red. A, N, N, A. Anna. Okay. Now with Anna, we're gonna go back to adding some numbers so I realize some things that are important. One of the first things I want to remember is that Anna was born into slavery. Anna is the only African American that we've included. She is also someone who is specific to our country. Anna was born into slavery, okay? And what made Anna really special is we're going to give her the number 4. Anna is the 4th African American woman in the history of the United States to earn a doctoral degree. She had to fight really hard to get an education, and she's the 4th African American woman in history to get a doctoral degree. I want to make sure that I include some books with Anna. Anna was incredibly intelligent, and she fought really hard for that to be known. So I'm going to include some books and some texts because I know that she was a really smart woman and she knew that she deserved better. She also helped other women get to school. She fostered women who were intellectual, she saw the best in them, and she wanted everyone to have an education. So I'm actually even going to put a little brain. My brain looks a little like lungs, but that's okay. Another number that I can include for Anna is the number 105. She lived a long life. The record says that she was 105 years old when she died. So not only was she born a slave, but she lived long enough to see freedom, she lived long enough to go to college, and she lived long enough to help other women achieve that dream. I am also going to put, what's really cool is I'm going to put a passport. Any of you who have passports at home, I'm going to put a passport and I'm going to put a stamp. The reason for this is that in a US passport, there is a stamp that includes a quote from Anna. And the quote that they have says, The cause of freedom is the cause of humankind. And the purpose of having a passport is to have the freedom to travel the world. There's a quote from Anna inside every US passport that's issued. Might be more for your moms and dads. Double check, have them open it up, and there should be a quote from her in there. The other thing that I want to have is I want to have two hands. What I love about Anna is she had the belief that women need to help women. Women need to raise each other up. Women can help each other succeed. So I'm going to put my two hands, and they're going to be helping each other. Women need to help women. And that's great. I'm going to have Anna right here. Okay. On the back, we're going to add that picture of Anna. And you should have a pretty full collage of important women in our faith history on the back. I'm going to put Anna right there by Mary Magdalene. I've got some space. I don't want to cover up Mary's egg. Now, you now have a completed fact side, and you now have a completed side with the pictures. Put it somewhere where it might inspire you. Put it somewhere where you can be reminded of these women's faith journeys and how they helped other people and how they showed the vision of Christ in their lives. Welcome to the second video for week 4 of group 2 of Heroes of the Faith. This is actually going to be the last video on our session, and it's the one that I'm the most excited about. So this week you learned about Gobnait, and one of the things that was important to her were bees, honey, and nature. So in your bag, the last activity you have is actually a sheet of what's called beeswax, and you're going to get to see that really cool geometric shape that's made. You're also going to have a string that looks like this. It's a wick. And then you're going to have a laminated card. So with your the reason it's laminated is so it holds up over the week, because this is something I want you to spend the week doing. Okay? You are going to be making your very own candle. So what you'll need to do is lay your beeswax out flat and go ahead and put your candle in. What's important about your candle is you're going to need a little bit of the wick sticking out on one end, okay? And you can have the wick sticking out the other. You could, if you want to, loop it so you have a loop sticking out here. This is if you want to, okay? Now, very carefully, you're going to take your wax and you're going to actually fold it over the wick, okay? You fold it over the wick to hold it in place, and then you can start to roll, okay? You're gonna roll, and you can see here, you're gonna roll until you get a full candle, okay? When this is done, as a family, I want you to read this prayer. This prayer actually comes from the Book of Common Prayer. Father Stephen has actually spoken this prayer. He gave it in a speech, one of his blog speeches a couple weeks ago. And it comes from the Book of Common Prayer. It's on page 833. And Saint Francis's prayer, which is what this is, says, Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, union. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light, and where there is sadness, joy. Grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. I want you to take the time each night this week to light your candle burn that whole candle this week. And I want you to say this prayer. A nice thing to add to this would be to pray for the person that you made your card for. Add them to your prayers. We're moving into Thanksgiving and then into Advent and then into Christmas. This is time that people usually gather together, and a lot of people will be missing that. So thinking about despair but bringing hope, a dark time but bringing light, and together as a family you get that opportunity to pray. When this week is done, I want you to spend one more week and think about your person on your card. And the week before Thanksgiving, I want you to pop that card in the mail, okay? They will get that just in time for the start of Advent. If you think the week before Thanksgiving, mail my card, at the very start of Advent, they're going to get a card from you talking about how you've prayed for them. And I think that would be really meaningful, especially for people who are struggling right now or who are alone. So I really appreciate that you've kept them in your prayers.